Okay, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having a good morning. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Phil Stepney, and I'm back on the cameras for the next little while. I've been away on a safari. Those of you that missed out on yesterday's show and wondering where Russell is, Russell is back out doing his bit for the safari world. So we'll be working together going forward in the future. But for now, I'm looking forward to spending some time with you the next 30 minutes, going through all the various cameras. And I thought we would start here at Rosie's Pan, where we've got a wonderful family of white-faced whistling ducks. It's so nice to have them. You often see them quite far off and hidden amongst other birds. We don't often get a clear view of them. But here we've got an undisturbed view, just watching them enjoying a morning feed. Such a beautiful duck, and I'm not sure if anyone's ever actually seen them or heard them. They have a wonderful whistling sound, hence their name, white-faced whistling ducks. Again, that's my version of their call. But it is quite a beautiful sound that goes together with the beautiful bird. Let's just sit and watch them for a bit. Let's listen to any of the morning sounds. It's quite nice to have a clear view of them. Lovely to see them busy. They'll probably feed and preen a little bit for while it's cool and then take a little break. Oh, they're coming a little closer. Just before we move on to a camera, let's see if they come in for an even better view. It's quite incredible, the quality of these cameras. On good days, sometimes the weather does play a bit of havoc. Especially now in summer, we've had some incredible storms. But here we have a perfect view. It looks very peaceful. It's always one of the nice things about taking a bit of time out and watching the cameras. It sets a very different pace for the day. Look at them coming right towards us. I don't know if you heard that call. That was the call I was talking about. two taking a bath. Look at them all. It's brilliant. Again, if we were there in person or on a vehicle, it's quite likely that one would disturb them. But to just sit back behind the cameras and watch their natural behavior is really quite special. There's a Diedrich's cuckoo calling in the background, also quite usual in the summer months. They really are quite exquisite. Look at those colors on the side. You've got the hazelnut brown on the chest that lightens up towards their wing feathers that have white markings. It's quite incredible how they keep their faces so clean. If anyone is out there watching, take a snapshot. It's perfect. While these beautiful ducks are just relaxing, they're taking it easy. I want to move across to Cat Eye Pan, just having a look at the storm clouds. Yesterday afternoon was quite active. There was a bit of blue sky and sunshine bringing the animals out, but it seems like another storm system's moved through. Just going to bring more rain. Beautiful. More rain means more grass, more leaves, more food for the herbivores, and of course, in turn, for the predators. It's all part of the classic food chain, natural food chain. Let's just have a look around in case there's something there. I just thought these colors are always wonderful to look at. I'm going to go to one of the highlight videos just while we're seeing this storm clouds here. And this is a shot or video snap that was taken from Olifants a couple of days ago. And let's listen to the sounds of the storm that came in. You can see there's a huge amount of rain falling out the sky in the background there. Beautiful thick clouds. Didn't actually capture the rain coming down, but that was a storm coming in the other day. Just thought we'd have a look at that as an example. See the wind blowing like crazy. The leaves can get quite intense for a little while when these storms come in. So we've crossed back to the live camera here. You can see it's not quite as aggressive just yet, but some of those storms that build up, these clouds could build up and the wind picks up. And you can have huge downpours for an hour or two. All right, so there's nobody home just yet. We'll keep an eye on the cameras. I'd like to go across to Taupan And this is a really good example of the result of heavy rains. Just an incredible change of color. I remember wondering, when would Tau change color? Every other camera, every other area had gone quite green, and Tau took the longest, but now it seems it's the brightest. Quite incredible. The pans filled right up. There must have been some really big storms. You get a closer view of those antelope in the background, but they're enjoying the new grass. They look like waterbuck. And we'll see if we can get a zoom in on them. Yeah, it's always quite tricky, but being it's quite a big animal, looks a bit shiny and furry. And there, I think I can see the white ring on the backside. I think those are 3 waterbuck enjoying the new growth. I'm sure there's little shrubs as well as grasses. This area does well once it starts getting wet. As we've seen in the dry months, there's a lot of activity, lots of animals moving up and down there, everything from waterbuck to impala, warthogs, elephants, of course. And they all play quite an important role of putting some nutrients back into the soil by way of defecating as they walk through there. So the system is going around and around. But at the same time, though, the animals will compact the soil a bit, so there won't be that much oxygen in those open spaces. So towards the end of summer, when the sun starts to burn and the rain stops and the wind picks up, it'll most likely dry out quite quickly. But for the time being, it seems that rain is a regular feature, which will help the growth. Look at them looking wonderful and shining, great condition. We're going to switch over to Tembi Cam. Again, this morning we're getting all sorts of views. And here it looks like it's actually raining. So this is all the way in the northeastern part of the country. It's quite far from Tau and Korapan and Kataipan, but here we have some Inyalas. The 2 on the right-hand side are Inyalas, and the one on the left is a waterbuck. You can just make out that white ring on the backside, and there's 2 giraffe bulls on the other side of the waterhole, which might be worth sticking around for to watch. I think they're having a bit of a sparring match. I saw them earlier necking each other. Necking. There you go. That's what necking is. It's the way giraffe fight. They essentially push their hips into each other and then take big swings with their long necks and bash into the chest of the opponent. That's the reason why the horns or the ossicles are bald. When they're young, they have sparring matches on regular basis, and they start to flatten their horns, and once the hair disappears, they actually create wounds. Those wounds callus and form these hard discs of calloused skin, which become their weapons later on in life. So these are quite large bulls. I wouldn't say they're both in their absolute prime, and their battle's not too serious. But they have been at it for a while. Let's see if they step into an open gap. See if we get a clearer view. It feels like we're looking into a dream. You can see the rain coming down now. I've spent a bit of time in this area. The nice thing about rain here is that it's pretty warm. It's not a cold environment. It's quite tropical. So although the rain can come down hard, as you can see, there's an interesting question here from Paul. Where do animals go during the storm? So when there's a storm like we saw at Olifants, animals will take shelter. They'll get into the thickest bush possible. They'll get out of the wind. Sometimes it can even hail. So they'll hunker down wherever they can. But in this kind of rain that we're looking at here, although it seems to have picked up a bit, you can see the antelope have come out to drink and carry on with their normal activity. But if the storm intensifies, they'll move off and just wait for the rain to pass and then come out, shake their coats off. Oh, there's another giraffe joining the view here. So yeah, generally speaking, this rain's not a problem. Wind is one of the elements that changes the behavior. Animals generally don't like wind at all. So even on a sunny day, if the wind's blowing, you'll see that they get into woodland, get into thicket. Wow, the rain is really lashing down. I don't know if anyone's got a cup of tea or coffee or hot chocolate. But it does make me want to just sit here, have a drink, and watch the weather out there. Let's have a listen to the rain. You could really hear that wind gusting down. It really is quite nice to be nice and warm, but watch the weather system move through. And also quite interesting with regards to your question, Paul, to see what the animals are doing in actual fact. They're just standing there, the giraffe, and having a drink, not really changing their behavior so much. With the summer and with the rains, there are all sorts of interesting things, from migratory birds to the best time for breeding. So I'd like to go across to another highlight video that illustrates this time of year and something really quite interesting that you don't often get to see at all. This is a bit of a biology lesson. But we've seen the foam nest frog nests quite regularly since summer started. But here, it's not the clearest view because the wind's blowing, but you see how those frogs are churning their back legs. Now, what we've got there is there'll be one female, and I think there's at least two, maybe three males on top of her. And essentially, the female's pushing out eggs, the males are depositing sperm, and they're all churning their legs up just like when you beat egg whites for meringue. But that's what they'll be doing all night, and those eggs get fertilized and get pushed into that foam ball that when the sun comes out in the next day, yeah, it gets baked on the outside, gets a hard, or relatively speaking, hard crust. But inside there's a nice moist environment for when there come two more frogs. Look at them coming from the top left of the screen, coming to join the party, the breeding party. It's really quite fascinating. Let's just watch them for a bit because you don't get to see this. They often get disturbed if you come there with a spotlight. They only do it at night. So to see this sort of activity is quite remarkable. Talking about the cycle of nature. We'll never know which one comes first, the frog or the egg, but this is certainly somewhere to start. Really interesting to watch that. There's another sequel to this and other things. So here's another video that illustrates some nocturnal bird activity. We've got the three-banded plover in the foreground, but have a listen to the frogs. There's a particular sound I want you to hear. That croaking sound, it's quite soft. Just have a listen again. So that's the sound of the grey tree frog as well. So apart from a beautiful picture of the greater painted snipe, which you also don't get to see so clearly on a regular basis, they do come out in the evening, and otherwise they skulk in the long grass and the reeds on the edges of pans and river systems. So if anyone has a book, I know this image is black and white, but take a look at the coloration of this bird. They are quite amazing. And the little three-banded plover is actually sitting on two chicks. Those of you that have been watching the cams lately, she's had a successful brood, and at the moment there's still two little chicks cruising around. They look like little insects. It'll be nice to watch and see if they survive. We're going to go back onto the live cameras now. It's always nice to get a general feel of all of the viewing that happens over 24 hours. It looks like the rain has now stopped. The camera is almost cleared up. They have the marvelous ability to clean their lenses by themselves. And those two giraffe are still having a little battle at the back there. There's another bull on the right hand side having a relaxed drink, and joining him is an Inyala bull. You can hear the red-chested cuckoo, in the background. Let's have a listen to some of the bird life. the familiar sound, I think, by now of the Diedrich's cuckoo. Beautiful call, as well as a very beautiful bird. Again, if anyone does have a bird book handy, take a look at that bird, Diedrich's cuckoo. In fact, all of the cuckoos are quite good looking. Those giraffe have moved into a gap, really giving us a good view of their activity. So the fact that they're not really hitting each other that hard is still telling me that it's the beginning of what could turn into a more aggressive fight, because they've been doing it for a little while. No one's backing down. They're essentially practicing. But if, for example, a female in estrus came into the picture, you might find that things heat up a little, because that's what they're fighting for. They're fighting for breeding rights. I suspect this bull in the foreground would maybe take the center stage. He looks a bit bigger, certainly a little bit darker, indicating that he's a little bit older. So for now, he's letting the youngsters play around. Just a perfect view of these giraffe. Talking about perfect views of giraffe, just before we finish the show this morning, I'd like to go through some of the snapshots that have been taken. Some really incredible photographs. Kudos to everyone, but I've chosen this one taken by Ursula Wester from Rosie's Pan. It's just the perfect sunlight on this big, dark giraffe bull. He's in prime condition. He's got short, stumpy horns, which I'm sure would inflict some solid bashes onto any competitor. And I just thought that that's a perfect shot. Nice one. There's another photograph of a giraffe taken at Rosie's Pan by Sabenza 952. That's a great photograph of this big bull popping his head up through the bushes and indeed looking at you or something. It's just a wonderful view. Again, shiny coat. At this time of year, you'll find that all the animals are in great condition, unless, of course, they are well aged. Generally, if they're out of condition, they'll be old. And of course, in the winter months, it'll be generally to do with the lack of food. But right now, there's certainly no problem with regards to that. And then, of course, the scenic shots, which we're also not short of. Just look at that perfect dawn in black and white. Taken by a thin hippo. I have to look out for one of those. That wonderful snapshot. Thanks so much for putting it out there. It's a very peaceful, no wind, peaceful shot. Beautiful reflection. And the last shot taken by Norm, also at Tau. I think this is when the light started to shine. And again, a wonderful, wonderful image. And I think this is where we've run out of time. A wonderful view to finish the show. If you do have a gap today, as always, I encourage you to keep watching the cameras. You never know what you're going to see. And if there's a great image of a bird, a mammal, a scenic shot, snap away and we'll put them up on the show tomorrow. Have a wonderful day further, and I'll see you tomorrow for the Hide Show in the afternoon. Happy viewing.